Look at that.
Amazing.
Let's see if
Oh, sorry about
at least
that.
we're a little brighter than last time. That's cool.
Less yellow.
Hey, folks.
Hey,
Let's,
everyone.
if the folks in the chat, if you can yell out if audio and video is okay, that would be super useful. And otherwise, we're just going to start yakking at you. So,
Yeah, I just want to say though, we actually have really limited means to correct the audio live here, so that's just more feedback for the future. Really apologize for that if the levels are bad right now.
We're working out our tech. We've got some new
Yeah.
toys like all this stuff, and we're working our way through.
There's a lot of learning to
this
do.
is episode 2, which might seem a little weird because you probably haven't seen episode 1 yet because we just kicked that out the door very recently. So we're going to be doing a lot more streaming at Fuse. We're kind of just feeling out this space, and although we've done some of that kind of stuff before for our own things, we haven't done it so much for this. So what we've done so far is we actually, let's explain the general premise.
Look, Chris, we should maybe introduce ourselves.
Let's do that too.
Yes. My name is Andreas. I was a feature engineer with Fuse for years. Now I am going to be a face on video a lot. So like it or not, you're going to have to look at me all kinds of times. This is Chris.
Yo! I am one of the engineers who work on the kind of lower level parts of the stack. And this, I guess, came about because I've been living down in the weeds for a while. What is the front end of our product has evolved a lot while I've been here over the last few years. And so I wanted to get a kind of refresher and just go through from the basics of what UX is, how it behaves. And so we thought, rather than just doing this privately, we'd stick up on some cameras and record the whole thing so you can see me fumble.
Yes, that's exactly what we're going to do today.
Yeah. So like I said, we've had one episode, but we're going to do a heavy recap and then get into more stuff. And it is very much basics, so we're hoping you'll join us for future ones and follow along.
We'll just cut to the code, I guess.
Yeah, totally. So we've got, I think, oh, look at that.
Technology.
Editing buttons and everything. Loving this. Okay, so last time we messed around with making this guy on the right. So we've got some ugly buttons.
Yes.
They go yellow when they're clicked. And this guy relays out stuff based on the actual size of the app and the orientation and things like this, which is cool. I'm going to see just what I can remember based on this. We have kind of like visual components, like things like rectangle. Like our buttons even, which we'll get to in a minute, are rectangles as well. So we don't have this kind of baked in concept of this is a button, you'll use this button for all things. There's kind of, you attach button-like behavior to visual stuff.
Yes.
And the kind of size and layout of these visual elements in the actual app are going to be dictated between the relationship between these kind of container things like dock panel and stack panel and their children. And that relationship works both ways.
Yes.
So we've got children kind of informing the parent, like what size they would want to be or are constrained to, and parents telling things further down, oh no, you need to be this size, or stuff like that.
I suppose the way we see it is that a thing has some sort of, like, either it has an implicit size, like a text field of a certain font size needs to be yay and yay big, and therefore its parent, if it's trying to do something like this, trying to stack them vertically, it's going to have to ask its children for their size to be able to do that. Conversely, the stack panel containing all these buttons will report to its parent how much space it's going to need, so it goes in that direction. So it's kind of like a series of constraints, like nodes asking each other questions until things work out. It's a lot more, it makes a lot more sense when you're actually playing around with it, which is why we have this, the live preview and being able to actually play around and figure that stuff out intuitively.
So was that the correct, is container the correct name for these kind of things, like stack panel and dock panel? What's the Fusey name?
They're like layout controls.
Yeah, fair enough.
Essentially. I feel like the stack panel, the grid, and the dock panel are the three sort of primary ones. We have the rectangle as well, which is, as you might imagine, a rectangle. Where you can still do alignments within that, but when you do alignments within a rectangle, you don't like the items don't have knowledge of each other. Yeah, it's all about the parent in that case.
That's cool. So stack panel is kind of laying things out in a linear way. So there's, and it can be vertical or horizontal, and you can control that with, there was something called alignment, what wasn't it?
Orientation.
Orientation, there we go. Equals, and then I can say
that's horizontal. And you're gonna have to poke at that preview.
Yes, there we go. Cool.
Wonderful. So now, like, you can also see the requirements of space that the stack panel has of its parent also changes with this, right? So you can set the alignment on the stack panel to center as well.
Okay. Yep. So wait, oh yeah, so it's the alignment thing.
Yes.
Sorry.
Alignment.
Alignment. And then it was center.
Yes. Boom. And
All right. Yeah.
so
Gotcha.
this makes sense, right?
Yeah, and so the buttons are going basically kind of as small as they can. I guess we haven't done
Like we can
any
align
extra things.
Yeah, I mean, they're
Yeah.
going to be sized to the text within them. So in this case, if you go on the text and you give the text a margin of something like 8, I like multiples of 8 because I'm a programmer. Save that up.
So it works. Okay, cool.
It
Yeah,
gets spaced
gotcha.
out like that. So
That's nice.
again, it's just another example of how things kind of inherit their size either from something that's set explicitly or from whatever they need to have.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And then, oh, by the way, in a chat, did anyone mention about the audio video?
It's apparently perfect.
Rock on.
Because
Thank you
this
very much,
is on
folks.
point.
That is always handy. And again, this is meant to be interactive as well, so feel free to yell questions or whatever. And
Yes, absolutely.
we will try and notice and answer them.
Yes.
So, what was the next thing I was going to
Well,
talk about?
so-
there was something I was trying to remember. Oh yeah, we did a load of stuff with a rectangle, and then we stuck it in its own file, and we shoved this thing called UX class on it.
Right.
At which point we're saying, hey, this is actually like a recipe for a thing that we can make. We can make instances of
Yes.
this hell button because it looks like hell.
Yeah, I can consider giving something a class name, like formalizing a concept.
Oh, yeah?
So before we did that, we have the rectangle with a text label and this while press trigger and the change animators that give it like what we talked about, the button-like behavior, right?
Yeah.
And then by giving it a class name like this, we sort of make formal in our own code base what the thing is supposed to be, right? Like it's only a button because it behaves like one. So we name it in that way.
Yep.
It's like Fuse is very free in terms of like being able to compose different things into concepts that make sense to you.
Right.
So, I mean,
that's cool.
That's really the real mechanism of. Okay, one, you use UX class to make not have to copy paste all this markup everywhere. That's the most practical reason. But it's also how you create the words that make up your code base, right?
Right.
So yeah.
Sweet. And then we were saying that this guy was a trigger. Was that correct?
Yes.
Right. So we have various triggers, a lot of them beginning with while, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so there are 3 different kinds of triggers, and we're probably going to do a separate sort of video on all the different kinds of trigger. But essentially, if before you had the while pressed and its children, oh yeah, there's a lot of while triggers. That's
We got some whiles.
Before you did that, we really only defined sort of the visual makeup of the thing we're making.
Right.
But it only became a button the moment you gave it behavior, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like I tend to put a different, like a space, if you put a space after, new line after text there. Just kind of like, okay, here's the visual stuff, here's the behavior stuff.
Right.
Just
Gotcha.
kind of like keep it clean for myself.
Yeah.
This together makes a button.
Yeah.
Right?
That's cool.
So
And
the trigger.
Oh, sorry, no.
Sorry,
Go for
man. The trigger is the thing that checks for a condition.
Uh-huh.
And in this case, is the condition is the parent of this trigger, is it being pressed? Is a user pressing down on it or touching it? And then everything within that trigger becomes active.
Yeah.
And the concept of active is like, in this case, we have the change animators that take a property and move it into another, change it to some other value.
Yep.
You can also use it to instantiate UX nodes. There's a lot of stuff you can do within triggers.
Yeah, so we could actually put like a circle in here or something. and it would
Absolutely.
become visual. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Like
So-
if we're going to talk about these things, we
Yeah.
better do it.
Make
It's
a horrible-
color equals, and we'll just
Blue.
do yellow.
Yellow.
Because yeah, that's actually going to be invisible, so let's just do black.
Okay, sure.
And
Just close it and it should be fine.
yeah, okay. So then when we do this,
Yeah.
oh yeah, okay,
And then
cool.
we'll get our
Straight.
circle.
Oh yeah, I think we also mentioned that order in the document also works kind of like layers.
Yes.
Was that that was true? So it was further down. Was it higher or lower in the stack? Higher in the
So
stack, right?
it's sort of rendered. Okay, if you were like me and you come from graphics programming, you're thinking about draw order. And for me, it made more intuitive sense that the further down in the tree we go, the further, like the closer to the screen it would be. Like it would be on top if it was at the bottom. It's actually inverted.
Oh no, that makes sense then. So top is the top.
Yes.
That's
So
right, cool.
we tried to make that. Apparently, it's like, why does it work this way? I don't understand why it works this way. It's like because it's intuitive. It's like,
Yeah.
oh.
We just haven't done it like this.
Yeah.
That's cool. Right. So we'll remove that because that's
One thing we
weird.
haven't touched on a lot yet anyway. So you did change here, right? And this becomes an instantaneous change in this case because you're touching
Yeah.
the thing happens. You can add durations to all of these.
all right. Okay. So change. Yeah, because change does feel like something
Yes.
that would just happen.
Sure.
but-
So give it like a duration. This is in
So
seconds.
it's seconds. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, if we do 1 second,
Sure.
I think that'll be visible enough.
It's going to be
Oh,
real
yeah.
slow. It's the background
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And it
you
goes
can-
back as well.
Yes. So when you release it, the condition stops being true and the animation is played in reverse. So any kind of animation you apply in this way, like we just added animation with a single attribute.
That's pretty cool.
It's very, very straightforward, but it's non-destructive, right?
Yeah.
Because we know like the initial state, or what we call the rest state, and any animation is like a change from that rest state. So we always know what to return back to.
Yeah, that's that's one of those kind of key philosophy things. I remember someone saying to me before, it's like everything is about deviations from a rest state.
Yes.
And that helps a lot, actually.
What it really means is that you, as say you're a designer and you only care about the static appearance of the application you're working on, you can totally design every fuse component without any motion or any animation whatsoever, or any behavior, and then any behavior added on top of that just becomes a decoration of sorts on top of that.
Cool.
And it's still non-destructive.
Sweet. Yeah. That's great. And I think there was one other... Okay, yeah, we had properties.
Yes.
Which... so we've defined that there's some value that belongs to this. So every one of these hell buttons is going to have a label.
Hell button.
And it's what we chose. We have to live with our mistakes now.
Fine.
And we've got... Yeah, so we can set this value up here. Is that right? So that's talking about this label.
Yes, this is now the default value for label.
Cool. And then in here...
We override them.
Yes. Cool. So we can override a lot of things. But
you can override any attributes.
Sweet.
Yes. So you can set, cool. I mean, it's a rectangle, so you can still set the color, for instance, the default color. If you go back to your hell button.
Yep.
I can't believe I'm saying hell button
like it's a thing.
Now. So our default color is red.
Standard components like stack panel and hell button.
Obvious. So here our default color is red. You go back to your main view, and you can set the color to God colors again.
Right. Okay. Job for next stream is
purple.
Talk to someone about getting a palette that we can use. That
we can use cooler or whatever it is. Anyway, now we have a button that still behaves the same way. So if you hit the foo1, foo0 button, it still behaves exactly the same way. It still tweens like the color correctly.
From the purple. It doesn't like jump to red and then tween. Yeah, that's cool.
So this style of overriding properties on things is really how you specialize components in Fuse. Intuitively, right?
Yeah. So that's cool. And I think there was one other... Did we do another thing? We touched on something called UX name, which allowed you...
yes.
Again, we might come back to that this episode, but it was something you could put in on an instance of a thing and say, hey, this guy is called Jeff, and then refer to that particular one.
Yeah, it's typically used. So if you go back to hell button again, and we have our change animators, in this case, we use this.color, right? In this case, this is implicit. It's the class hell button. So this instance. If you had a name of another instance, for instance, we have our text named UX named this text, right?
Oh yeah, look at that.
So we're targeting that through the second animator. So name is really just a way to flag something so that we can refer to it using animators or behaviors in this way.
But when we have a UX class, this is available.
Yes.
Or is it available even without the UX class?
This is only available on classes.
That's great.
The actual issue we encountered last time, if I remember correctly, was a bug in the UX compiler where if you had UX class and UX name, the actual name you put in would override this. So this would no longer work.
So that was a mistake.
Yes, and we had a lot of stuff like, you see, we data bind to property label there. And if you want to be explicit here, it's actually property this.label.
Oh, okay.
But since we were overriding it through our UX name, then it no longer worked, and we got a pretty funky error message out of it. So that is stuff that's being obviously fixed since we complained about it real loud.
Well, you put it on the stream.
Yeah, but I guess the lesson learned was, you can start with a rectangle like we did and give it a name, just so you can animate things properly. But once you elevate that into a class, get rid of that name and use this instead.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
that works for me. Okay, so...
one more thing I was supposed to point out to you. So you use capitalization in your UX name here.
Yeah.
I've been told to admonish you. There should be a lowercase d on instance names.
Okay, so we do kind of,
Yeah, we have certain patterns like that. Like typically uppercase, if the word is capitalized, it has to be a property of the thing. And if it's a camel case, I guess, is that what you call it? When the first one is small?
I never remember which way round it is.
God.
We could Google. But
I'm not going to Google. But
we've got enough problems.
Yeah, so it's just a way to know that the thing you're referring to is not a property or...
Sweet.
Yeah, or a type.
Yeah, that's good. So properties, capital.
Yes.
UX class, capital. UX name.
Yeah, it's like .NET type of names, I guess. You consider an instance name like a local variable.
Yeah, that sounds like details. I'll just try and remember that.
No matter. Yeah.
It's cool. It's I must try and retain. So I'm gonna
getting highly specific here.
These guys.
Right.
That's where we were last time. So This time I think we were going to do something about animation.
I was actually thinking we should look at navigation.
Oh yeah, okay. Yes, let's do that.
And where to start with this? So I suppose the simplest way to get started with navigation is what's called a page control in Fuse. So if you take your rectangle, yeah, just get rid of the rectangle.
Yeah, let's.
And make a page control.
Yep.
There we go. So let's keep it open.
Yep.
We're gonna put a bunch of stuff in there.
Sure. And then are we gonna? We're gonna need a closing tag as well, right?
Yes.
I'm sure there's a. Oh yeah, there we go. I will get used to VS Code.
Yeah, generally speaking, in Fuse, like there's not a lot of nodes like image here where you just close it and you're done with it. Like Fuse is about composing nodes, so you know, getting into a habit of just keeping the tag open like this.
Yeah,
it's just gonna make you happier. So the thing about pages in Fuse, like buttons, is that we don't really have like an established. Well, we do have a thing called page, but it's it's not really magical. It doesn't. It's only a thing that has an extra attribute on it. You could make a page yourself by making a rectangle with a custom thing on it. Like it's fine. Like anything that's contained, any child of page control will be treated as if it's a page.
Nice. So we could throw anything in there.
Yeah. So for instance, if we start by making a let's make a rectangle.
Yeah. Not gonna go weird pages on me.
We're gonna make some weird pages.
Okay,
don't worry.
Cool. And we're gonna have to give it some color.
Yeah. Anything.
And do white.
Sure. And just save that up there.
Yep. And there's.
Boom. And now we only have one page, so big whoop.
Yeah. There's not much we can do with that.
No. But you can add, say, the next line, make a circle.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Sure. So they don't even have to be consistent or anything like that, and we'll do.
We only look at their bounding blocks when we determine like the actual interaction for the most part. So in this case,
can I already start like?
You should be able to swipe to the right there. Boom, there we go.
Nice.
So already we have things that, I mean, they are part of the page control, and the page control is like, I'm going to treat you like a page.
Yeah.
Right. So what does that mean?
And like page control already has this kind of smooth thing going on here. So it, like this obviously has some default behavior we can.
Yeah, it's got some happy defaults on it.
That's cool.
But this is like, it's a good starting point.
Default. Sorry, I was getting a Bob Ross vibe there, which was just lovely. Just got some happy little defaults over here.
Little happy fluffy defaults. But yeah, so pages like buttons are buttons because they have button-like characteristics. We can give these page-like characteristics, right? And that really comes down to mostly transitions and what it feels like to interact with them.
Nice.
So maybe we should make a custom transition.
Yes,
let's try with that.
Where do I shove one of them?
Let's get rid of that circle for now.
Okay.
Let's be traditional.
We're gonna have
just
two rectangles then.
Yeah. Yeah, 2 rectangles is fine. But we're gonna focus on one of them for now. We're gonna make our sort of base page type.
All right.
Like we did with the hell button, we're gonna make a page type, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Now there are 2 pages. We want them to behave in this and this way. So just open your rectangle.
Sure.
Wish there was a keystroke just for doing that.
Yeah, it's
Mr. Emacs, make that happen, Mr. Emacs.
It's just Emacs anymore.
Okay, cool.
Not in Kansas, right?
So this rectangle, we have 2. It's a different kind of trigger. So if we look at while pressed, that has a its beginning and end is determined by when the user starts pressing on it and when the user stops pressing on it. So that's sort of the timeline control, right? With page control, we have this other implicit sort of trigger that establishes its timeline based on the duration of the user interaction, like swiping from page to page. And we call these entering animation and exiting animation.
All right.
And any trigger that ends with animation, or typically, I guess, in Fuse, any node that ends with animation is something that you can use to drive. As you'll see, you can drive different kinds of other animators in along a timeline that's implicit. Okay. So I hope that makes sense.
That's all right. We'll unpack it. That's
fine. It
makes
makes a lot more sense when you're actually playing around with this stuff, which you will. Make an entering animation.
Sure. Oh, yeah, with all kinds of things in there. $.
Yeah.
That's how we spell it in English. I don't know what you do.
Yeah, keep it open.
Yep.
And
have one on them?
Yep. There we go. So any kind of change animator, for instance, that we put in here is going to have its duration, or like the movement between its 2 extremes from no change to all the change is determined by the transition the page is making through when you're navigating from one page to another.
Yeah, so rather than that kind of duration of how long it's held down or whatever the while thing is, this is provided by page control in some way.
Yeah.
Like that.
So, so one thing we can do here, just for test, there's a different kind of animator. We've used change already.
Yep.
We can use scale.
Sure.
So if you just make scale and you set the scale factor to say 0.5. Boom.
That's
And
gonna be that.
now
That one doesn't need to be open. So
this, if you move this out to the side
Oh,
there, you see now
yeah.
it's hiding away like that.
Okay, so let me
So
just grab
two
from
things
right
have
at the
happened
edge.
here. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yep, keep talking. I'm just gonna be playing this
keep
like a
going.
child.
Go to the purple. Just go and then go back.
Yep.
See?
And then brings back in. So yeah, it's like
Yes.
like with the button, it's got the exact reverse.
Two things to notice here. We have a built-in animation that happens when you're swiping from page to page.
Yep.
And this scale is being added onto that, right? We're mixing all these animations together.
Okay, yeah.
So you can start with a very, very basic thing, and then you can specialize that further with more and more animations.
Yeah.
And they all just get mixed together, sort of. Well, I'd say in general, it works pretty well.
Yeah, I think I've seen that in some of the. I mean, I'm not a 3D modeler, but what they have like stacks of different curves, and they all kind of play along a timeline together. So it's similar concept.
Yes. So we can make this entering animation has a sibling, so you can guess what that's called.
Yeah, well, that'll have to be exiting.
Yep.
But this plays in both directions already. So if you don't provide one, does it just use the reverse of the?
You can specify
doing it this
different different animations based on the direction of the transition, right?
Yeah.
So when it was, let's say it's coming from the right, you can have one different animation from the one when it's coming from the left.
Okay.
And with our entering animation, we specified the one in this case when it's coming from the left.
Okay.
So if you just let's do a scale of 1.5, something really stupid on the
Okay.
exiting animation.
Factor
This is going to look ridiculous.
1.5. Sure.
Close that out, and you might not actually see this since it's the first page. So if you just, I guess you can just, you know what, whatever. Let's make a class of this. Take that entire rectangle.
Yep. So we need another file.
Yeah.
New file. And this is going to be lovely page.
Lovely page. Yeah.
If I could type anything forever.
That is
Doesn't matter how much I do programming, I still can't.
Hell and
Okay.
lovely are the two most British
Well,
words.
we can't have a hell page, so I had to go the exact opposite. So, oh no, not page control,
Sure.
the rectangle.
Yes,
Right?
just get rid of that and
Nice.
just make a couple of lovely pages.
Let's do
Well, let's see what
this.
we've got that in there. Yeah.
How does this work?
Yeah,
in
boy.
VS Code. Cool. And then UX class.
Mhm.
Yep. Equals. And then this one starts with caps. So this is going to be our
Lovely page.
lovely page.
Perfect.
Cool. And then we are going to copy that and go back here
Mm-hmm.
and make one of these dudes just like that.
Boom,
Get
boom,
rid of the
boom.
rectangle.
Awesome. Make a bunch of them.
And yeah.
Just why not? Also, all of these
And-
pages are going to be white.
Yeah, so I'm just going to stick a color on some of the other ones.
Isn't this nice, Chris? You can just override whatever you want. Just case by case basis.
I can pick all the terrible colors.
Yes,
And
purple.
actually, let's just do white and purple alternating, so we can
put purple on there.
we can pick purple or purple.
Cool.
It's amazing. What a future we live in.
Okay, this is actually I'm a silly person. What's actually happening here is that the scaling, well, if you move on from the right, it's actually being clipped by the container it's in.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll make something.
So
else.
let's pick something different from
Yeah.
scale, just so it stands out.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting.
Yeah, get
Literally
back in there. Get
closed.
back in there. Okay, so cool. What we can actually
shove it,
do,
like, move it in some way. Like
I know a transition that looks quite good that we can just implement right now.
I'd like a transition that looks quite good.
So if you go back into main view,
Okay, I'll undo
So-
that destruction.
we're going to do two things. First of all, we're going to disable the built-in transition. So on the
Alright.
page control, you set the transition to none.
And that was
That's the basic moving like from left to right.
all right. So if we hadn't like specified these guys,
Mhm.
this would just stop working now, right?
Well, if you try moving the thing around, if you swipe from page to page,
Yep.
already it's kind of looking a bit odd, right? Wait, is this? Did we save this already? Or are
Oh,
we...
maybe I didn't. Oops.
Boom.
No, I've got some things going on here.
Anyway, that's all good. This
I did download a dev build, so I probably have something that's fixed in release.
That's
So
always
sorry
something.
about that.
That's fine. Look, we've just disabled our basic transitions. If you
Yep.
go back to the lovely page, you can just comment out both of our entering and exiting animations.
Mhm.
Or just, oh wow,
We got buttons for all these things.
madness. And
Okay,
now,
now
see,
nothing moves.
now nothing is happening
Oh, wait.
whatsoever. We still switch from page to page, but there's zero transition.
And I
involved,
resize.
Right, that's the right
These are
way to
all
test
the things
things.
I can
Always
do.
resize things.
Oh, that is truly dreadful.
This is a great experience for everyone.
Yeah.
So
Shut
okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to replicate the original transition.
Mhm.
That's exciting, right? So just uncomment these guys around.
see if
I like this example a lot. It's actually on our examples page,
yeah.
but it's such a simple thing, but it has such a nice impact. So we're going to do our entering animation. We're just going to use another kind of animator called move.
Okay.
And move is interesting. So just move, and we're going to move on the x-axis.
So we just do X?
Capital X, yes. And we're going to move -1
Okay.
on the x-axis.
So what units are we in here?
Relative to.
Oh, okay, right.
And we can choose
relative node.
relative to size. Relative node can actually be used.
Like this?
So yes, perfect.
Cool.
So if you use relative to and relative node, you can make it relative to the size of another node rather than the one it's the child of. There's a lot of opportunities in UX to retarget in this way. So you're never locked into the scope you're currently in.
So this is kind of this dot size? Or
yeah.
Nice.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So now we've done half of it.
Cool.
So right now, and we take that scale, okay, the 1.5 is doing us no favors. Just bring that back down to 0.5. I really like this one because it's so simple. And with that...
Right. Okay.
So now we have this sort of like interesting 3D looking sort of transition, right?
So the entering is this, about becoming current or moving.
Well, moving in from the left in this case. Entering
Yeah.
and exiting depends on the directionality of the navigation.
Okay, and that's going to depend on whether you're in a page control or something else,
yes,
right?
like the navigation stack and how you move from page to page is really dependent on it gets specific very quickly. And it's probably a subject for a video all of itself.
Totally.
In this case, entering is going to or coming from the left, and exiting is going to or coming from the right.
Sure, that makes sense.
And with that, we have a page with some page-like characteristics in our case.
Ooh, yeah, nice and loud, Chris. Keep smashing crockery around. That's what this stream was for. Sweet. So yeah, okay.
That's pretty ridiculous.
And a resize.
That's the thing we do today.
I'm sure there's a program to stop me doing that.
Yeah, I think
We'll
for
chop off my hands.
One of the future streams, we're going to be doing a little bit of on-device preview as well. So
Nice.
we can actually see what this actually feels like.
So we can just point that at you.
Yeah, that works too. Okay, cool. So since we now made this page,
totally. So that's a page now.
if you go back to your main view, you can start adding random stuff to all these lovely pages, and they're going to retain that.
I'm gonna keep up coming up with stupid names for you to say each time because you have to set it like it's a thing, and I'm enjoying that a lot.
It takes me 3 times before I'm comfortable with it. Every single time. But yeah, that's essentially it. You have a page. You have the transitions are specified by the page itself, and then you can keep adding children to that page for the actual page content.
Cool.
Of course, this is not really navigation. Right? It's like, I mean, I can swipe between these things, but like we have these 3 buttons. Why don't we make those buttons actually go to?
Oh, that'd be nice. Like there's got to be more ways of driving this.
Yeah, get rid of the first page so we only have 3. So there's some. I also maybe make one of the pages a different color. I don't know why it matters.
What is my wonderful?
Teal.
We have that? Is that how you spell teal?
Yes.
Wow. And does it work?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Magical. Oh, I also found out one thing recently that we haven't really advertised enough at all. If you go into Hell button,
we didn't advertise the Hell button.
No,
what the hell is wrong with us?
We haven't
fire all of our marketing team.
We haven't advertised the fact that we actually have some built-in. I mean, I know we mentioned it in the changelog, but I haven't actually read it on our site anywhere. So if you make a font on this, we actually have some built-in typefaces.
Oh, cool.
So if you make a font property on the text.
Oh, I've got to look at the right screen. Otherwise, I'm gonna.
Yeah, and you call it say bold. Capital B. Yeah.
Yep.
Boom.
Hey.
So or thin. I like thin a lot because it's really hard to read.
That is.
Anyway. That works too. Awesome. Yep. Excellent. That's design work right there.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Anyway, I just think that's pretty cool. Like
it's actually nice for just getting a feel of like if you're not dealing with the direct font file yet and just trying to mock it up, trying to get the feel. That makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna leave that in bold.
Ferris is being a bully in the chat.
He's a bad man.
He's a terrible human being. We have to work with him.
Anyway,
so what I want to do here.
Ferris.
I want to have each of these hell buttons essentially point to one of these pages.
Yep.
Right?
Sure.
So first of all, we have to name our page control. Right?
Right. Yes, of course. Oh, that's the UX name stuff, right?
Yes.
And that's about naming an instance of a thing. I'm going to keep on saying it out loud until it sticks in my brain.
And lowercase first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And what are we going to call it? You get to name something this time.
Oh, just...
these are the opportunities I give you.
Page control.
Okay, so I'm going to do our page control.
Oh, you have to be different.
Well, it's just so, because if it's called page control, I'm going to confuse myself. I'm a simple man with simple needs, like
okay,
coffee.
Cool. So there are two ways we can do this. One is that we can check, or we can set the, I think it's called active index on the page control. We'll try that first. So in the hell button, we're going to add a tapped trigger.
Okay. So we do this guy.
Yes.
Should drop it down to the next line. Right. And then
tapped.
Tapped. Cool.
Cool. So tapped is a different kind of trigger. It's what we call a pulse trigger. So while pressed is like it's active as long as it's pressed. The tapped happens once and it plays the entire timeline once.
All right.
So for interactions like this where the user did a thing that has like a pop to it, tapped is perfect. Also, okay, so for the tapped, we're going to do a change. Or no, wait, sorry, we need set in this case because since the tapped animator is going, and it's a change animator, tapped action, tap trigger with a change, blah, blah. If you use a change, it's going to return to its original value.
Okay, yeah.
And in this case, we actually want to set it.
Yeah,
right?
We are going to that page, and then when we let go, it shouldn't just jump back.
Exactly.
It's like stay.
So we want to do our page control. I think it's target. Yeah, with set, you have to use target. So target is our page control dot active index.
Like this?
Yes, and the value is, in this case, 0.
Okay, so I just do...
No, you have to actually set a value.
Oh, right, okay, so then we're going to do inside the set.
No, you don't have to do that. Just, it's still a property attribute of the set node.
See, he can be taught.
Yes.
Maybe. I'll drop that down to the next line.
And make that 0.
Love that. Okay. So we just give it a number?
Yes, 0 is fine. And then we can just copy this tapped down to the other buttons.
Okay.
And just set it to 1 and 2, respectively.
Out of laziness.
Why not? Why not be lazy? Save that out and mess with the buttons. See what they do.
Can it work? Oh, nice. Oh, yeah. Jumps all the way as well.
Yes.
Sweet.
So now we have some buttons that drives our navigation.
Nice.
And in the future, when we look at expressions, we could be using the active index as a variable in expressions to determine whether we want to highlight certain buttons and so on.
Those were some fantastic words, and I'm sure I'll understand what they mean.
You will love expressions, sir.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just needed that angry yellow to come in faster. it wasn't upsetting enough visually.
That's how it goes.
That's really not much.
No, that's not a lot of code to do something. Well, honestly, there's not a lot going on.
No, but I mean...
But it's pretty sweet.
I have tried to noodle with other things before and done less with more.
Getting this stuff off the ground is... getting this kind of thing, this sort of basic page flow and tying that into interactions is very, very easy with Fuse. And now, say you had... at this point, we have our top-level navigation in this weird app we're making.
I mean, yeah, obviously this would probably be something a little prettier down the bottom or in...
actually one thing we can do, if you go up to the page control and you can say interaction and set that to none as well to make it only possible to navigate using those buttons.
All right.
I don't know why you'd want to do that, but it's a thing you can do. So
okay, so now this stuff should still work.
Yep.
Whoop, whoop.
And swiping is not going to work.
And cool.
Interaction is something you can, in the future you can set that with expressions as well. So maybe once if you're making like a wizard, you're able to swipe forward. You have to fill in all the things to make the screen valid so that you can swipe forward. Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
That is cool. And I guess we'll just mess around with there's a bunch of different things we can throw in these slots. So
yes,
noodle
absolutely.
around with those.
One of the things that are the takeaways here, I suppose, is that the length of the animation is dependent on the user interaction, right? Or in this case, the actual transition between pages, which means you don't have a duration. You don't set durations on animators. You put within an animation trigger in that way because the duration is set by the trigger.
Run that by me again. I was trying to... I got distracted because I was looking at this and I'm like, I wonder if we can make this tidier. And then
You can absolutely make everything tidier.
Okay, well, we'll do that in a minute.
You can subclass anything in Fuse. If you wanted to take that tapped and turn it into a navigation thing with
what I was wondering specifically was, hey, we've got this kind of... This is the same in all of these. And the only difference is what the value is here. And I wasn't sure if the tapped thing could move into the button.
It can absolutely go into the button, but typically what you would do with a button, say the button's job is to look like a button and behave like a button, but the actual action that a button takes when you tap it should be handled externally, right?
That's actually true, yeah. You don't want to bury too much of that logic in there.
In this case, you would make a button that's only useful for animating the active index of a page control. That's not very useful.
No, that's true.
But what might be useful in this case, I mean, No, it's not useful. I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, we could totally generate this because it's 3 nodes that do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right, and we could use in each node and some expressions to generate the
I
values
see.
and
Yeah.
all that
So
stuff.
yeah, typically that. And again, it's 3 things. It's not a big deal.
Maybe it's worth just playing with. Why not? It's been like 30 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I would like, seeing as we are on this kind of topic, let's do this, and then we'll look at each and stuff like that maybe next time, because that sounds like we're getting into kind of data area, or is each?
Well,
still
it's
division?
like dipping our toe in expressions essentially, which is
I'm
where
down.
where I figured we would be going next video anyway.
Oh, cool. Yeah, let's wind up with that. What other things can we throw in here, and then we'll jump back to.
I don't know.
there-
Like, okay, right. We can do something cool here.
All of those noises.
Okay, cool. Let's. This is an obvious one, but why not? Throw a blur on this thing.
Oh, okay.
Let's do like a weird depth of field blurry thing.
Fair enough. Wait,
So-
in the X thing.
In the rectangle,
Okay. So just do.
make a blur and set the radius to 0. So there is no blur,
Oh, you have to do this thing.
and you give it a name so we can talk to it.
Okay. UX name equals
Blur.
blur again.
Why are you so polite? Just state the thing for what it is. Anyway, that's fine.
Screw you, blur.
So
Right.
again, notice what we've done here. We've made a blur that does nothing.
Yes.
What we want to do is deviate from our rest states where there is no blur, and we look at the
Right.
the exiting animation in which it starts at a scale factor of 0.5, which is
Okay,
the
yeah.
extreme.
So we're like gonna pretend that's quite.
Oh, you have to.
Let's go and.
I'm just sabotaging you, just turning off the interaction. Line 6.
Why
Yeah.
does nothing live? Right. Cool. Right. Let's try that, and maybe
Neat.
things will move again. So yeah, we're gonna pretend like the thing that's scaling is just far away.
Yes, exactly.
Nice.
Like, I mean, we maybe in the future we'll look at the viewport, and now we can do some 3D stuff as well.
Yeah.
But for now, let's pretend it's in 3D. So in this, we'll make a change.
Oh, cool. So yeah, we're gonna get to
Change.
choose that change.
Yes, just our blur.radius is something like 16 or some high value we can actually see.
I'm not an Emacs, so I need yen everywhere.
That's how it works.
Sorry, our blur equals. And like, am I getting comments on my type?
We're getting the obvious corrections.
Cool, cool.
Yeah, well, page control transition can't be set reactively, so we can't actually data bind to it. That's not actually true, because I've been using that quite a bit. So we're going to have a look at that, Emil.
If it can, should it?
Anyway, so change our blur.radius.
Has
is what you
science
want.
gone too far? Oh, okay, yeah, our blur.radius.
Yes.
If I stop talking crap long enough to actually type the thing.
And you set that
Equals
to 16, for instance.
16.
And just close that tag.
Yep.
And now, we're doing some
That is daft.
silly things.
And that page was so far away.
It's like way off. Everything is. I love near field stuff. It's fun. I mean, obviously this is nonsense, but it's still fun. Whoa.
That is,
Whoa.
yeah, we'd have to put it off to the right for that to look like it was coming from miles away.
Yeah.
Can you do that? Like, what's I know this is just making everything look terrible, but
No, that's fine. What are you
how
trying to do?
Like, if it was, so at the moment it's coming from kind of like the center. I want it to come over from the right a bit.
Oh, sure. You can use the move trigger as well. Move animator. God, I'm messing it up. So make a move, and I guess you can either use units. If you set X to like 100 here, it's going to be plus 100 points to the right. It's a completely arbitrary value, but yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, and yeah, I think we might have mentioned last time, but points is a device independent unit, so we're gonna get reliable.
It's like
things.
resolution independent unit.
Yeah, that's it. So good 300. Who gave me the power to make disgusting things?
This is terrible.
You did. All of you people who worked on this. I did. I'm part of the problem. But
Yeah.
I was already part of the problem.
Mm.
Okay, right. I'm going to get rid of that.
Well,
Because this was already beautiful. No, I'm leaving it there. Stick with my mistakes.
why not?
It's already a hell button. Oh, this is a lovely page, isn't it?
Everything about this is bad,
Yes.
but
But informative.
this is fun still, though, right?
Cool. Yes. No, I mean, I'm impressed. It's more that I haven't managed to make it explode so much, and it might be because I'm getting kind of guidance, but like we throw a behavior on something and it goes okay and makes it work. It doesn't just kind of like
I think one of the things you'll probably never see with Fuse is that it explodes.
That's.
And I mean, I know what you well, hopefully I understand what you mean by that.
Yeah.
It's like it's really impossible to create a UX tree that where you have to like, oh, I have to reload this thing to make it work again.
Yeah.
Because again, we know the rest state, and every animation is easily reversible. So
That's very cool.
if you think about it, all we've really done is establish these incredibly primitive like visuals, and then we're adding some animation on top of it. But together, that creates, you know, in our case, a horrible one, but it creates a user experience, right? But yeah.
That works. Sweet. Okay, then let's brave our way into each. Was it?
Yeah, I think we're gonna close with that one.
Yeah, let's
so
have a little bit.
Get rid of your 2 of those hell buttons.
But I put so much work into copying.
Oh yeah, it's all your hard work to be destroyed. So each, we haven't looked at each yet, but each is a way to instantiate a template essentially. Okay. So according to some rules, either through data, but in this case, we're just going to use a count. So if you create under the stack panel, you make an each.
Yeah.
You set the count to 3.
All right, fair enough. And there's going to be some of these.
You got to put that in.
And the hell button inside. Man, I really wish I had per edit right now.
You got to put that in quotation marks.
Oh, the value.
The counts, yeah.
Come on, Chris, hold it together.
Cool. So now it's going to make 3 of the same button, all called full 0, right?
Yep.
We want that to be based on the index that we're currently looking at, right? So 0, 1, 2,
yes,
and so on.
Totally.
So let's start with the label. So the hell button label, if we, anytime you want to work with expressions in Fuse, you're going to have to use data binding curly braces, right?
Okay. So we got curly braces.
Yes.
Mean like.
And then you want index and parens close, just lowercase I.
Oh, sorry.
Index and just close. Yep, exactly. Save that. Boom.
Cool.
0, 1, 2.
Right. So
you can use index as the number, right? So you can put that in the value on the set as well. Outside
of here, this was just like text, but then inside the curly braces, like, okay, we got some logic going on now. Some kind of behavior is.
Yeah, I like to think of the curly. It's probably not accurate, but I like to think of the curly braces as sort of like a lookup. So
okay.
Give me the result of whatever this is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this case, I have a string, and I have that concatenated with.
So these buttons don't work anymore.
Well,
they're all going
the first
to
one
0.
is going to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all going to work. So
So if I just did this here, does that work?
It should work. Yes.
Dude, nice.
And boom! Now you're generating your pointless buttons.
That's cool though. Okay, so there were a couple of words that came through that I was wondering about. So template. Actually, I think let's see if I remember this. Like we had classes which we could make instances of, and then templates were kind of almost like some code that would almost be kind of like injected or copy pasted into where that was used. So yeah, when we're doing each, where this gets treated like a template.
Yes. Anything contained within the each becomes the template for each iteration of the each.
That actually sounds pretty reasonable. Oh, cool. Well, I thought I was going to find that harder.
It's silly, stupid, easy.
Yeah, no, it's really cool.
This kind of stuff is a lot of fun to do.
Sweet. So next time, because I'm like we're gonna mess around more with each and
let's look at some more expressions, some more data. Try to make something a little bit more meaningful than this.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking we would touch on a little bit of JavaScript as well. Have a look at our new JavaScript framework.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Or our non-framework. We're not going to be doing a lot of it, but really just, I figured maybe an app where we fetch some data from some API and we present that on screen.
Dude, that would be further than I thought it was going to get in 3, so that's...
Yeah, well, if you...
Oh, that sounds brilliant. If we can do that, that would be perfect.
Cool.
Yeah, okay. Then let's call it a day here. Any questions from the chat or anything that we haven't covered already that we need to?
Sure. I mean, it's the usual stuff. Telling us we're wrong about things.
Cool. I'm wrong about most things.
Dan is pointing out that we can make the preview window always on top. We've tried that, and we had some issues with Reify when we did. So
yeah, that was again, like, because I'm keep on pulling dev builds out, that might be stale news now, but that's fine.
Yeah, so that's the reason we have the current sort of Akimbo setup.
But yeah, so it's more clarifications and less questions.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Jake is saying templates are very macro-like. They don't generate Uno classes. So
yeah, don't generate classes. That's cool.
Yeah.
Then if that's what I said, then I'm sorry because I didn't mean that. But that's yeah, I'm thinking of like almost like copy pasting code.
Yeah.
So yeah, like kind of text macros and stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
Cool.
That's groovy. Okay. Well, thanks very much for joining us for this kind of first streaming experiment. We did the first pre-recorded one last time. We will be streaming again next Tuesday at 4 p.m. CEST, and hope you can join us. And now one of us has to kind of make this awkward walk over to there to hit the stop streaming button. Like professionals.
It's not that awkward. I've done it like 3 times already.
Or you better make it look awkward, because I've sold this now.
Such an old man.